That's what I thought. I thought it was a brand new one because it was about the pandemic. Oh, I've got 2 more people. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure I get these people in. Hey, Bobby Nestor and Amy Baskin. So I'm not going to do too much via by way of introduction because I really would like to turn it over to Megan as prompt as we can so that she can start reading and y'all can start enjoying. It is being recorded. Fingers crossed I'm doing it correctly because Connie knows I can make an error there. I did it with my own, but it looks like it's working. But the poem that Megan read last week really struck me, and her work, speaks to me. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about this weekly Thursday is getting to know poets whose work I admire, but that I would never be in the same town to go to a reading. And so I feel really blessed that we've been able to do this and spend time together. And on that note, it is all yours, Megan. Just a quick reminder for people, if you could go ahead and mute yourself, that'd be fantastic. And if you'd like to read for open mic, send me a message via the chat. If you don't know where the chat is, although I'm sure you do, it's down at the bottom of your screen. Just hit that and it'll bring it up. If you have any questions for Megan or any responses to individual poems, that's a great place to put it because I will send the chat section to her and that I'll also keep track of it for any questions that people have. Already people are starting to say things, so fantastic. All yours, Megan.
Awesome. Thank you so much for curating this space. I'm really excited to get to connect here, and thank you everybody for taking the time out of your evening and joining me. I'm happy to share these poems. So my book, Before the Fevered Snow, you can admire my post-its, was released right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I thought things were weird then. Little did I know. Things have gotten, a lot stranger here. So I missed all of the readings that I had set up at some really beautiful places. I had travel plans, and I miss connecting with everybody the most. So to be able to see your faces and share these poems means a lot to me. So thank you very much. I don't know if you're familiar. I've had a really interesting week. I have been removed from Facebook, hacked and deleted twice, as well as my Instagram. And it got me thinking a lot about the art of memory keeping, which a lot of these poems really tie into. And I chose a few to read today that deal with that. So I started writing these poems when my mom got sick. They thought she had a rare form of Alzheimer's that included going blind, but it was in fact a brain tumor. And in helping to care for her and helping her navigate this journey, I just took to writing, and it is literally what saved me and what helped me through that process. So I'll share a few of these poems, and then I have a couple others, I think 1 or 2 new ones as well, kind of pandemic related. I will explain. The black cat she named after a stiff Russian drink, and that slept on my childhood bed, crawls out from under some orbit. Neither of us can remember the exact shade of red lipstick she was always wiping clean. If given the gift of another question, I would choose one that could unpack like nesting dolls. I would ask again about my birth story, how I almost arrived in a donut shop, how a city bus driver stopped and picked her up, going off route to the hospital. It feels important to plant this here. The hospice workers say only hours might be left. Nobody knows for sure. I read that I was an egg in her body when she was tucked and growing in her mother, that to find my true age, I am to subtract 20 weeks from the moment of her birth. This means that she knew the specks of daughters I carried short, and I was never alone in their loss. But I am the one trimming our line, the last wooden doll fit into a thimble. I sing off key and light a candle, remembering her nightgown like smoke, and how, as she's leaving, I watch everything ash, a wince split into every oncoming joy. My heart squeezes 3 times. I like the jazz hands. It's weird reading to silence, I'm not gonna lie. One of the things when I was booted from Facebook, I thought a lot about how and where and why I place my memories. And I had relied a lot upon Facebook as memory keeper, and to store all of those and to remind me about who I was, who I had been, as I was kind of growing and changing, because I had that account for more than a decade. And then I trusted Facebook in this weird way, even knowing that I shouldn't have, to hold the memories that I had of my children too. And so I was thinking a lot about how I lean into poems as well to hold memories. And I kind of saw this book in a new way this week, in knowing that that's what I did in writing these poems. I'd ask these poems to hold things for me in here as well. And they're a lot safer that way. When she begins to forget me. Come winter, the woodpeckers are all that is left, but the door opening startles them into flight. This cold feels skittish without snow, as if it too could lift off and flap over the road. The calloused man at the hardware store says, unseasonable, as if his wife slipped bitters into his tea where cinnamon should be. Somewhere, we started giving names to what does not belong. I hear it again to fill the blank that flops over my mother's memories, lays its furred white over the delicate frame of her life. I carry a pound cake to a neighbor in mourning. She invites me to sit in the chair closest to the door. She confesses that when she didn't have enough sheets, she hung a hand-stitched rug over the largest mirror. It spends a week seeing only its own snags. I'm going to share a poem from this really incredible anthology alongside We Travel, Poems on Autism. I know Connie's has work in here, as well as a number of other poets and voices that I truly value, and I'm grateful to be able to listen to and read. My son has autism, and he has epilepsy, and one of the things that happens after a seizure, he tends to lose skills and memory. And for him, he tends to lose language and words. And one of the things that I have done is try to be the person that holds that for them, trying to be that memory keeper for him when he is finding his way back, and just share and give that to him. And so I thought I would share this poem today. Yeah, it's kind of fitting. It's called Cradling an Empty Cup. The neurologist says absence seizures, so I add a drop of water. The therapist says drool, and I take a sip. We have already prepared for this slippery season by covering our hands in rubber gloves. She says no, we must persist. Long road, think ahead. I add to. Then spectrum, expressive delay, attention deficit, the jaw lock, mid-choke, and tears so silent that when I move to check his face, hearing that long train whistle of instinct, I found him, a mime performing pain. 8 drops. Hands flapping like wings trying to catch the splint of sun. 1. Gull mouth, cradling salt, rusted words. 2. I carry the cup while driving, wandering alone through the store, folding laundry into paper cranes, borrowing the words for this poem. I carry the quiet stub of sorrow, add a drop when each wired word disconnects and his stations fuzz. Day by day, the cup grows heavier. My arm aches deep in the bone, not because of the balance or weight, a drop or two different, but because I'm refusing to set it down. A witness's job is not to cure, but carry. So I sing the first bars of each lullaby and tuck a white sheet, a half-moon embrace, staying awake in case he rises and shapes his empty hands into the sign for water. None of my work is really cheerful. I was looking for poems today to share. I kind of wanted to bring a little bit of joy into this space as well, and I realized it's kind of difficult with what I have written. So one of the things that makes me just ridiculously happy is music. And for the last, I think about 2 years now, I have been learning how to play the ukulele and guitar. And I am absolutely head over heels in love with this process. It's changed my entire world. Learning about music theory, the little bit that I have, has literally changed my entire existence. And so I wrote this poem about music, and for me, it's absolute bliss and pure joy. And this was originally published in Jakar Press's One. I want to learn this song. A man tells me he sung it once in an elevator shaft. Some people just know where the best acoustics dwell. I get weepy when I think of it, all graffiti and damp, a cringe of piss in the air, the song like a dried dandelion, blown 3 stories, and the bass notes, maintenance, a few buildings down with their jackhammers, knocking out a hunk of green space where the most human parts of us are allowed to break. Cigarettes pinched between lips, a conspiracy to keep us from singing. My God, I want to unpack and spend at least 3 weeks between the strings, have someone slide their fingers across my skin. And while I'm not usually fond of being muted, I might forgive that pressure holding me steady. I tell him that I'm going to return as a musician in my next life. If I can grasp a few chords now, embody the vibrations. If I can learn to move between frets with a broken string, I'll bruise trying. I'll press the emergency button between floors. I'm a raw nerve, and that song is a horsehair brush. Splendid. Thank you for the silent claps. There are some songs and poems I just want to unpack and move into, for sure. And that was written about one of those songs. And eventually I will learn how to play it. Let's see. I will read, do I have time for about 2 more? Okay, 2 thumbs up. This poem is forthcoming in the Octio Review. And I haven't been writing a lot lately about what's happening. I think I'm still waiting for that kind of shock to turn into some form of wisdom and understanding before I sit down and put it into words. But these 2 poems I did write right at the beginning of quarantine, so I will share them. Parenting a pandemic. A wolf slow-paced the driveway. This is not a fairy tale, even though I chose the house with the red door. I cannot handle another emergency, my husband warns. He means somatically. I've bulked up the pantry with distant expiration dates and wash each vegetable twice. I think of the rabbits and ravens, throw rinds and skins out the back to the edge of trees. We are practicing social distancing, even though it goes against what my therapist has been telling me for months. We need each other to survive. After listening to the news, only peelings of light are left. which means if I want to catch it, I have to wade between bark and needles where it's trapped. But the scruff on that wolf was gray and raised. I worry how quickly he could take my child's head into its mouth. Chew carefully, I tell my children, then show them how to cut the strips of meat on their plate into small enough pieces with a dulled knife. Good mother, I offer myself. You have seasoned fear, made it digestible. Each morning, I choose a new song to hum while we wash our hands. I pocket my own to keep from pinching color into their cheeks. And I'll end with this. Kind of circles back to the experience of my mother losing her memories. And for me, I lost the beginning chapters of my life, the ones that she was able to narrate. And when she passed, I really understood that for the first time. And that's a very profound thing to lose. A house of manifestos. We use the fattest books to smash spiders, then open to page 49 and read. Anything can be Bible, but I sleep with the book of how to survive worst case scenarios under my bed. A baggie of drywall screws and duct tape to hold us together. One article explains that you may feel more scattered than normal, unable to focus. I close my eyes and see the spread of northern lights as hearts taped to neighbors' windows. This too is trauma response. Before she died, my mother made lists on yellow legal pads so she would not forget how to operate the small machinery of her life. They feathered her cabinets and counters, heavily taped. How many times I've been told that a poem is simply the right words in the right order. I add eye bolts, sifted flour, scissors, salt.
Want to unmute? Feel free to unmute because I know everybody wants to clap. It's hard to just see the, the silent claps. Wow.
So gorgeous. So beautiful, Megan.
Beautiful.
Just
Thank
stunning.
you. It's really strange to be staring at an image of myself in silence reading.
Get this going home. You can write a poem about that with the silent hand clapping.
Yeah, for sure.
Slightly bizarre.
It's like you have
very
to get in
hard.
front of a mirror to practice, so you're ready for Zoom.
Don't bug me. I'm doing my Zoom practice.
I was gonna stick a Post-it on the screen and be like, nope.
It is very challenging. I know it helps if you kind of have people's, you can see people clapping, but it's silence. It's a strange one. And it was busy over in the chat. I don't know if you saw that scrolling up.
Yeah, I didn't read any of that.
You could copy and paste it and then send it to put it in a Word document and then read it after.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That you'll get that. But also I wanted to go over, people were writing down the lines that just really struck them. And a mother's nightgown, never forgotten. Squeeze it. This was with the heart squeezes 3 times. And Deb said that has significance for me. Love. People wrote wow. Wow is in there a lot. Wow or whoa. Incredible poem. That is lovely. Connie said, somewhere we started giving names to what does not belong. And that one really stayed out. Each poem had several lines that just, I think, really stick with people. Cal wrote, same here. There was a question, so I'm trying to get down to that, Megan. Amy said, let's see, let me put that down for me. The memory keeper, yes, I love that. 'Tis true. Yeah. The skill lost, oh, this was mine. I was saying the skill lost after seizures is so hard and scary. I really connected to that. And also, a mom with memory loss, because my mother had early onset Alzheimer's. Connie, another one that Connie pulled out that was really amazing. Long Train Whistle of Instinct.
God, that's so good.
Yeah.
It just
Thank you.
says, not cure, but carry. Deb was saying the power of witnessing from that poem. And then somebody said, woo, woo, gorgeous. We don't need cheer. I think people are trying to say, write what it is you're writing because it's working. It's really stunning.
Megan, can you reread the first line of the poem that begins with the wolf image?
Parenting a pandemic.
Yes.
Sure, I'll read the first stanza. Parenting a pandemic. A wolf slow paced the driveway. This is not fair. This is not a fairy tale, even though I chose the house with the red door. Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, I just love that. But I that might be my favorite beginning. But your entries in your poems are so strong, and I don't feel like I have to wait, or wade through 2 or 3 lines to be present. I love that.
So what I love about your Parenting in the Pandemic poem is that we've gotten a lot closer. You forgot that part. Me and Megan have gotten really close during the pandemic because we both have sons with autism, and I'm kind of like, my son's older, so we just talk about the real stuff.
A lot of the real stuff.
Oh my God. More than you want to know here. Yeah.
But that makes sense too, that there would be that resonance between y'all. So that doesn't.
It's very isolating, and because you need all these outside supports and you're alone, and it's really hard on the person with autism and the parents. But I don't want to go off on my own thing, but it's very hard.
But I do want to acknowledge that, Connie, and I've been following your posts of you and Thomas and the pictures, and
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, those pictures are incredible. I mean, just so powerful, so amazing.
I didn't expect them to
It's
turn out
so
like that.
metaphoric.
Yeah.
I did have a question. The question was, what was the song that you wrote about wanting to live in? Amy asked that question.
Yeah.
Yep.
In the air song, Slow It Down.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I literally
That's a good
just want
one.
to take all my stuff, move in, unpack, and live inside of that song for at least 10 years.
That's awesome.
So Jennifer wanted to say to you, I love your poetry, Megan. I have to jump onto another Zoom, so I can't stay for open mic. She said, wonderful to hear your beautiful voice.
It was awesome she was here. She's a busy lady.
Yeah, going from one to the next. And then Deb wrote chills on the one poem. Connie said, the small machinery of her life.
Yeah.
That was a line that resonated with quite a few people. Also love that House of Manifestos, cringe of piss. So, and then some people were also typing in there clapping, so you would know.
Cool.
There was something that was striking to me. There's a issue of space and where to inhabit and closeness and navigating spaces that I found very interesting in a lot of your poems. It's a very, I'm trying to think of it's like spatial awareness that I don't think I've ever thought of until I was listening to your work. Is that something you're conscious of?
In a way, so the best way I can describe it is I carry the work inside of me. It's literally embodied until I'm able to find these weird slips of time where I'm not needed, and I can sit down and write them. And I think that's too maybe why the beginnings feel so immediate, because I've been holding them for maybe days at a time.
Wow.
Until I can sit down and I can get it to the page. And so the poem is literally an embodied experience. And I think maybe that is why I'm playing with, or you can sense that idea of there being that space and that container.
Yeah, it was really remarkable. And I hadn't really ever thought of that until I was listening to your work. I was like, that is interesting. But it makes sense that you've kind of had to hold it and embodied it. And then when it comes out, there is this spatial thing that is experiential for me, just hearing it. Other people are writing that they have to hop off too. Does anybody have any questions for Megan? Just jump in and feel free to dialogue.
Ask away. I love the questions.
Hey, I don't have a question yet, but I just want to say if you've seen me wandering around the house, it's because I'm looking for your chapbook because I wanted to hold all the stuff that I have of yours in my hand. And the chapbook's underneath like some large collection of books, and I can't pull it out with two hands. So,
Can you say the
But-
name of the anthology again, Megan? Because it's so, so good. I love
Oh,
that.
Alongside We Travel, Contemporary Poets on Autism. And it was edited by Sean Thomas Doherty. And I know you can find it on Amazon. And Connie, where else can we buy this?
And the New York Quarterly
Can't
Books.
believe.
No, I'm still here. I'm lingering. At New York Quarterly Books, that website. And also, I have some that I bought from the publisher. So me, and I can give them to you for a good. Me, the publisher, or Amazon.
Speaking of where to buy books, you can buy Megan's newest book. The link is on the very first click with our chat. So if you go to her website and click on the books, or you can go straight to Stillhouse Press.
Yes, that would be wonderful if you wanted to go over there and buy a copy. I know because it was released right at the beginning of the pandemic, I can't imagine that it didn't affect sales. So
It did.
Oh, yeah.
We were supposed to have a reading, me and Megan, in March, and that went down by the wayside. No, it was beginning of April. Yeah.
So there's a good question here. Chloe would like to hear, and I'm saying, it says Chloe Laptop, so I'm assuming that's the last name. Like to hear more about the line about where the humans go to break in the music poem, please, because that struck me.
that came from the idea that we have these little tiny spaces outside where you're allowed to go during your day for 5 or 10 minutes. And it's probably the most human space because everybody kind of takes off that mask of whatever building you're leaving from, whether it's work or an appointment or whatnot. And it's this very tiny little community space. And it just kind of struck me of like, this is what we have. This is where we have to meet as humans. And it's so small and it's so structured and odd, and usually filled with smoke, but.
Why'd you ask that question? That was interesting to hear the response. Anybody else? I don't want to jump too.
I just want to say that you're a brilliant, amazing poet, and I love your poetry. But at the same time, you're really sweet and kind, and you enjoy talking, and it's like that's what I love about some poets. That you're a great poet, and I get to like talk to you and get inside your head a little, and I love that about you.
Right on. Well, it's an interesting place in there.
Well, I just want to remind people, if you would like to read, go ahead and send me a message for open mic. Just to let you know who I have scheduled so far: Betty, Jojo, Robbie, and Amy. If I missed anybody, please let me know. Stacy also wanted to let y'all know when you order a book from Stillhouse, they also send you fun stickers. That's kind of cool to look forward to.
Buttons, I think. I have some of the buttons.
Oh, and buttons too?
I think Tommy is Megan. I think that's Megan under the Stillhouse logo.
Yeah.
Yep. I am outside, so I didn't want the birds to steal the show.
Okay, now I kind of want to see the birds.
Oh, just like the birds in the neighborhood. Something about my headphones seems to pick up their bird calls. But Stillhouse is here, and we do love Megan so much. And we do have lots of fun things if you order.
That's awesome.
I have to step off. Thank you, Malika and Megan. Thank
Hi,
you,
Addie.
Hi, Addie.
everybody.
Bye, Addie.
Hey, Addie.
Well, the feeling's mutual. For those who might be looking in the future for a press, Stillhouse Press is really tremendous. My experience there has been absolutely incredible. The level of attention and editing and care for the book is unparalleled. So.
Yeah, if anyone wants to submit, I'll be the editor you'd be working with. So, well, not necessarily, but I'd be part of the team.
That's awesome. That is that's a good thing to know what presses you've had good experiences with that have really worked well. So thanks.
Well, we'd be nowhere without Megan. I mean, she's brilliant. And like the only reason why I was able to help her make a good book is because she made it. So whatever.
We spent hours communicating, going line by line through each poem, and Tommy's being, demure here, but he's brilliant as well. And would bring up things I'd be like, oh, what about this word? And he'd be like, no, I'm sorry, you already used that in the 3rd page in line 4. Cool.
Wow, I would have to do a word check to even remember. That's awesome.
Yeah. He was the logical portion of my brain for a few months there working on the book. So
it's a good thing to have. That's awesome. Well, thank you so very much, Megan. That was just beautiful.
Thank you.
I
Thank
deeply
you for having
appreciate it. Thank you. So if everybody wants to clap one more time before we go to open mic.
Woohoo!
And just a quick reminder that we are filming for open mic, but if you would rather me not, just go ahead and send me a message and I will stop then. So I know some people have a preference and I don't want to make an assumption. And we will go through the list that we have. So Betty is first. And if you don't mind talking, I can make you the spotlight, Betty.
Oh my, have me talk? Well, some of you may not know, but I'm in Florida where we are flourishing with the pandemic here. Our cases have just been quadrupled, and in my zip code, we have jumped up over 30 in the last 2 days. So, and a lot of people refuse to wear a mask, and it's very sad. It really is, because it's come down to a political issue. And anyway, so think of us Floridians here. And I'm heading up to North Carolina next month, another place that's not doing too well.
What part of Florida are you in?
I'm in St. Petersburg.
Okay, I'm in Pensacola. My sister lives in Seminole.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just up the road. All right, the title of this poem is called Scary Walk. Late in the day, walking into the Pisgah by Cold Mountain, the air grew still and thick with miasma. My heart started to beat rapidly. I was being monitored. Looking up between the leaves, daylight was evaporating and broom fell from the sky, chilling my soul. He warned me about an after 4 walk. It was as if the forest was waking up from an all-day nap. Strange sounds made an entrance from behind me. Afraid to turn around and look, I quickened my step. Lifeless leaves took on a sound of their own. Up ahead, I saw a break in the trees, which rendered more light. Understanding that the widow Vanderbilt sold the mountain makes sense to me. Was the mountain haunted? Would Inman appear? Racing thoughts made me feel and fear more intense. Whatever it was grabbed my arm. I closed my eyes thinking my last seconds of life were before me. I shrieked. Puffs of cold air were all around me. Lips quivered. There was a presence near. It entered my body. Opening my eyes revealed nothing. As quick as it came, it left. The odor was putrid. I ran the rest of my walk. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So after Betty, I have JoJo.
Hi. All right, so I was gonna read this poem last week, but then I accidentally emailed myself the wrong file, so I didn't get to. And I was awake for like 24 hours or so, and as I was laying down, this came to me. And like, I used to have nightmares when I was younger, and all of a sudden all that came to me for some odd weird reason. So, and the title of this poem, because it doesn't have a title and I can't get a perfect one, but I call it the Sleep Deprived Morning Poem. Tiring, my mind adjusts tonight. A yawn and then an elongated blink. Please surrender your eyes, sleep said, unearthing a perimeter. His propaganda to inhabit nightmares and non-consensual terror wrapped as a gift and laid on the doorstep of my mouth. But I know better. I first drink the blood of the holy man and retreat into the pages of his prayer. Maybe a spell. Sometimes these things begin to blur and chanting becomes a song, becomes the beginning of a pursuit. And that's that poem.
Jeff wrote something that I really have to say. I got to echo this, Jeff. One thing he wrote, one thing that is a real treat for me is to hear the voices of my Facebook friends whom I've not yet met. Bravo to all. That really is a beautiful thing, Jeff. I think it's really wonderful to have this community and get to hear people read poems that you know, and not having ever met them before. The next person I have is Robbie. Help me find you by saying something. Let's see. Okay, I think I see. Robbie, you're the next reader. There we go. There, nope. There. Robbie, are you talking now? Because I cannot hear you. It looked like you were talking.
You may have to unmute yourself there, Robbie.
Okay. You're not muted on this end.
Yeah, I can't hear either.
Yep, it's on your end. Because it's definitely not on. I can't help with that.
It might be that your computer's microphone is off currently and you have the camera on. So it might be somewhere on your keyboard or something having to do with your.
Yeah, sometimes F4 will bring it up.
Yeah, push up the volume.
Yep, like you could go to F3 for volume. How about you tinker with that, Robbie? And I'll come back to you, okay? Just send me a message when we have you, and we'll go to Amy next. I just muted you, Amy. You were unmuting at the same time.
No problem. Thank you. No, thanks so much. And I'm so glad that I could be here and hear everybody read, especially Megan. It's such a joy to hear Megan read. Such a fan of your work. And Megan, your work has influenced mine on lots of occasions, even your Facebook posts when you were allowed to post. So this poem is one that I wrote during our National Poetry writing sessions this past year. And it's based on, it has an epigraph that you might recognize. It's from one of your Facebook posts. So it's called Self-Portrait of Woman Discovering Herself. And the epigraph is, when the drop cloth looks more beautiful than the canvas, Megan Merchant. Don't despair. You've made art in your own special way and didn't even know it until the end. Your self-conscious strokes and ratty-ass brushes that you laboriously retrieved from the back of the basement cabinet caused you to spill the turpentine, waylaid you only temporarily. Your caution and hesitance regarding which colors to blend and which clash, how to feather an edge, and how to best define a chin through shadows and use of Payne's gray weren't all for naught. Your painting is amateur at best, amateur at worst. Your drop cloth, an unintentional marvel. Still, you had a hand and possibly 2 feet in its creation. Go on, mount it. Thanks.
That's lovely. I love the dialogue amongst poets, you know, when we can have a chance to do that. That's lovely. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Cal, I have you next. You'll have to unmute, Cal.
I'm unmuted now, right?
There you go.
You are.
There you go.
What? You can hear me, right?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. I just want, when I read one of these like this, it's filling my whole screen, but I think you can see me. Just tell me. You can see me now, right?
Yes.
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 Good. All right. I can't see myself. That's fine.
You look the same.
As I did an hour ago. This is called Custodian, and I noticed everybody is, well, the last two poems were kind of scary. And so I'm not going to do one that makes you worry about somebody getting killed or anything. This is about the possibility of the end of the world. So we're going to spread it out so it doesn't seem quite as bad. But anyway, this is called Custodian. A whiff of pine scent cleaner wakes memory of Harrison School and lanky Mr. Harks in green overalls. He attended to the little children as carefully as he did the building. A kindly man roaming the halls, pushing a bucket on wheels, sloshing with gray-green water and his sopping mop. His domain was the basement, his office. But today we hear familiar bells and sirens, and Mr. Harks is with the teacher at the staircase landing, waving to us and telling us to stay in line, two abreast, until we find ourselves below ground, shoes slipping on the green tile floor. We file along the brick walls painted green, the color of my little kid faux varsity jacket from the discount store, the corduroy one without the white leather sleeves. We follow the teacher's command to slide our backs down the wall, bow and grab our knees. We are unnerved. The air raid sirens still howl in our minds. We wait to be atomized. We don't see Mr. Harks. Perhaps he is safe in his underground office. He can't do more for us than other grown-ups. Russian bombers head for the Nike base on Riker Hill, right across the main road, carrying death to New York City, the base targeted for the first hit. And that was, I literally did go to elementary school about a mile from the main base that was protecting New York City. So the object was to shoot down anything that was heading to bomb New York. So
Well, thank you, Cal.
thought that was kind of scary to find out until way later. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for reading, Cal. The last reader I have written down is Tommy, and then we'll go back to Robbie and hope, fingers crossed, that we have the audio fixed. Tommy, can you say something, and that way I know you're unmuted and good?
Yeah, sure thing.
Thank you.
Am I popping up? I think so. All right, so my poems tend to be a little bit longer, but I'm trying to do one that's not too long. This poem is called Sundog. It's another word for parhelion, which is an atmospheric phenomenon that creates bright spots of light in the sky, often a luminous ring or halo on either side of the sun. It can also mean a small or incomplete rainbow. Now, see, Charlie Chase, he isn't much to look at. He's got this face, see, that's all bent and cracked at the edges. He's got this smile, no teeth, but his gums are pink and green, cancer patch from the chewing tobacco. But he's not all bad. There's a subtle kindness to the way he begs, to the way he wanders from streetlight to sidewalk to park grass, the way he slides down the orange tube, lies in the shade of the rope bridge, swings on the swing set until the sunlight drapes over his face for the last time each night. He smiles his gums at the moonlight. He has a way of walking with this stumble every left step, limping like a pirate, no cane, his spine yanking his waist to keep his legs moving. I tell you, man, if you saw him in a bar and he knew you, he'd buy you a drink with the last coins he had. His eyes, they're either light blue or slight gray, tucked beneath eyelid shells, hardened by winter, held tight shut like a clam's gray ligament hinge against the wind. When I first shook his hands and felt his fold-over mittened fingers, they were cracked, like crunched ice or dropped glass. Charlie once smashed the glass between his bare palm and a drunken skull, and the glass cut his hand into jagged sections of interlaced skin. All right, back to how he got the limp. Cerebral palsy, I believe. Spastic diplegia. It made it hard for him to go anywhere fast. He dragged that leg like a task all up and down the Harrisonburg streets, like a rigor mortis limb. Occasionally I'd see him hop the train, ride it through town. People always wondered how he got on and stayed on the back of the caboose, arms clutching iron bars, occasionally letting go and leaning out to wave. He'd hop off at the other side of town. At some point last year, he started wearing purple everywhere he went. All his clothes were purple and gold, the colors of James Madison University. And I saw him less and less as he spent more time sitting at the corner of Carrier Library and Hillcrest House. He would drink coffee and chat with students. He got to know a few of them, called them by name. He'd even wait for hours just to see them, his coffee growing cold in his hands. One late night in December, outside some bar downtown, a drunk JMU student started insulting him, calling him an ugly fucker, calling him deformed. Charlie swung a fist at the face of his anxiety, and it ducked and punched back and kept punching, and soon poor Mr. Chase was lying in a puddle of his own flesh. It was I who found him, hours after the fight, with miles between us and the nearest open hospital, and the night wholly empty of other souls, I brought him back to the place I was staying. A nice dry spot in a tunnel beneath a bridge beside interweaving train tracks, and lay him down on a blue blanket on the graveled ground and hoped for the bleeding to stop. In the morning, when his wounds had dried, aided by yellow newspaper and old sock bandages, I left him lying in the tunnel to go get some food. He'd be needing it soon. When I got back, I found only the indentation of his body in the bloody snow. I followed the footprints. Traced in red-white crust, I thrust through slush with feet in hole-strewn shoes, feeling my toes numb and tingle as I traversed the pink snow. And what do you know, I find poor old Charlie Chase lying on his back where the old tent used to be. His arms clutching upward, rigid frost coating his hands, fingers shaking with icy shivers. His face, already cracked, now looks like an iceberg about to break into pieces. His smile, stuck to his face like tape, quivers so slightly, his gums tucked tightly beneath lips. I watch him try to move, ever so lightly. Once he finally sees I'm there, I help him stand, but his left leg gives out beneath him and he falls back down. He must have gotten scared, alone in the tunnel near the little fire I had set, not knowing where he was, and ran. With none of liquor's warmth, he succumbed to winter's bite. His eyes shut tight against the wind, his scarred hands held together as if praying. I see him struggle to lift himself one last time and collapse on the weak leg. I can still see him riding that train, waving at the people he passes. I can still see him wearing purple, drinking coffee with students. I can still see him bleeding from between his wounds. I can still hear him breathing. Thanks.
Oh, wow. You had some comments in here. People were wanting to, let you know certain things resonated. He dragged that leg like a task. And then Jeff swung a fist at the face of his own anxiety. Oh, yes. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tommy. And Jeff, if you want to read, that would be fantastic. We'd love to have you.
There's still time?
Yes, definitely. And also, regrettably, Robbie could not get the mic working, so next time. But yeah, Jeff, it'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. So I normally don't do topical stuff, but this is a pandemic poem. A friend of mine kind of twisted my arm, and based on a true story. Another friend of mine lives one house away from the Gulf of Mexico, and he's kind of featured in this thing. This is called Some Inland Curse. Some Inland Curse. Frank says there is always the Gulf. He lives with its tides, closer and further, depends on the low, constant hum of salt and spray, always the Gulf. Frank stands on his desk, surveys the horizon, sunlight and seagulls, distant clouds, faraway fronts. He is unable to descend past his sea oats a step too far. The water wall that could take it all away in a late summer rage of pressure, wind, and currents lies before him, a vast blue bed where he can dream all day long. But not now. He stands, he waits. That nature is forbidden, that calling just beyond the sand where dry becomes wet, white becomes emerald, hands and feet bound by something in the air, smaller than a puff of wind, yet more expansive than any body of water. Some inland curse threatens to take his breath away forever. The tide rolls in, the tide rolls out. The water is constant before him, always the gulf.
Yay. Thank you, Jeff. I'm so glad you read. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you all so very much. Does anybody want to read? We still have a few more minutes, or if you have questions for Megan, or actually for anybody that read. I like the idea of just letting us have dialogue. Betty wanted to let you know, Jeff, love that, Jeff. And then Tommy said, fantastic, Jeff, great reading voice too. Yeah, that's lovely.
Thanks.
Stephanie, Alicia, I see you out there if you want to read. I'd love to hear from either one of you. Just gonna throw that out there.
I think that's fair, Amy. That's a tag.
I like your work.
I can ask to unmute. Alicia, and who else did you? Oh, she's unmuted. Jump in.
Alicia and Stephanie Schilling. I saw them both.
Hi, I have to find a poem I wasn't planning on reading, but I'll find something.
I'm glad I put you on the spot, but I hope you are too.
I have a funny one that's very, very short.
Alicia, yeah, that'd be great. You can keep looking.
Wanna
And
do
then
that?
what was the other? Oh, let's wait. I wanted to go to the other person that you mentioned, Amy.
Stephanie Schilling.
Stephanie, I can ask her to unmute.
I don't think I have anything ready for tonight, but I thank you for calling me out.
I hope I didn't put you on the spot.
No,
I just love your
no,
work. That's all.
But,
It's very
you know,
sweet.
we take a no very gracefully. So thank you, Stephanie. We do. We take
No, believe
yeses
me.
happily, no's very gracefully and happily as well.
If I had something, I would totally read, but I didn't come prepared.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Alicia, did you find something?
Yeah, I had one open, so I'll just read this one. Let me get it open here. It's called "On Driving All Night to Find the Shaman Who Will Help Me and." Then I breathe, draughts of air in my lungs, a $30 white t-shirt wet with dew I bought from a store with a blue awning down the street from where I live by the ocean. I am far from there now, the awning gray blue like any sky at dawn, and now it snows and snows. A hand in the air conjures a different scent, sweet like juniper and cold like rosemary, but today clouds clamp the trees in a silver wrap with no loose ends. Here in the mountains where sweat evaporates from my neck, I've come to heal. My mind is split. There's the me and the child me who is screaming, and terror rides us both into numb frenzy. The shaman holds my head in her arms. There now, I got you. She says, sage burns, let it out. She says, terror must have its day. And by that she means repressed terror. And by that she means for me to take up more space than I ever have before, while coyotes wild against the stars, wet fur and fangs, we are all howling together. And now a clearing, a quiet so dark the black sky lays out the cosmos, as if I belong to something majestic, instead of twisted on the floor, remembering what I never wanted to forget, the child by the door. It never should have happened when he stole her light.
Wow.
Wow.
I am so glad that you read. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Wow.
Thank you, Alicia.
Incredibly
You.
powerful.
So I do have to head out, but I wrote out all that out that I was gonna head out, and then that poem started, and I'm glad I stayed because holy smokes. Wow. All right, I do have to go though. Thank you so much. This should
Thank
be a
you so
regular
much.
thing, maybe. This is
It
pretty
is. We
amazing.
meet every Thursday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, book launches in the pandemic. I've been doing this for almost 3 months now.
Okay.
So many poets are in this situation. So anytime you want to come back, that'd be great. And
Okay,
Elise,
yeah.
I hope you hear how you stopped somebody in their tracks that stayed. Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, okay, have a good one.
Bye, Tommy.
Be well.
Bye.
Well, thank y'all so
That's
very
a
much.
short, funny one.
I have very much enjoyed everybody sharing. And Megan, thank you for bringing your energy, your powerful poems. Really look forward to getting this book and seeing what kind of stickers they sent. I'm curious. And so if people want to have one more chance to clap and let everybody, oh yeah, Wade bitchin' is what Jeff wrote. That is so true. Wade bitchin', congrats to you. Thanks for, please continue to update as I do enjoy these. So, every week, guys, but today was a very special one. So thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
I just want to
Well,
thank you, Megan, and I can't recommend this book highly enough. So, you guys, it's really well done.
yep.
It's beautiful work.
Thanks, Amy.
All right. Be well, people.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Megan.
Bye. See you when I get Facebook again in like 3 months.
Well, I'm going to start emailing you because I'm going to send you the stuff via email so we can keep in touch
Yeah.
that way.
That would be awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me.
Oh, my complete pleasure. Thank you, guys.